Donald Trump is sitting for a virtual interview today with probation officials ahead of his sentencing for falsifying business records. And now that he's not tied to New York because of the trial, the former president was able to spend the weekend fundraising in California and holding a campaign rally in Las Vegas. CBS campaign reporter and attorney Katrina Kaufman is in Palm Beach, Florida, where Trump is virtually attending this meeting. So, Katrina, good to see you. What can you tell us about this interview and what it's about?
Hi, Lindsay. So, as you mentioned, they're allowing Trump to do this pre-sentencing interview with the New York Probation Department from his home here in Mar-a-Lago, which is a very unusual exception, but Trump is, of course, an unusual case. This is the first former president to ever undergo this type of interview. It's really a standard part of the pre-sentencing process, which is ultimately given to the judge who will be sentencing Trump on July 11th. Another special allowance that they're giving Trump is that his attorney, Todd Blanche, is going to be present at this interview with him. That's very rare. It's not normally allowed at these New York State pre-sentencing interviews. But they're going to ask him likely a standard series of questions, things about his health, his family history, his finances, his criminal history as well, so potentially his other indictments and the civil judgments against him in New York could come up. They also could ask him questions such as whether he associates with any felons. As we know, there are a number of people in Trump's circle that fit that description, so he might have to talk about whether he still affiliates with someone like Steve Bannon or Paul Manafort or Roger Stone, for example. This is also an opportunity where a defendant can express remorse or contrition about their actions. However, it's also fine for Trump to say that he doesn't think he did anything wrong and plans to appeal. But if he makes statements like he has been to the press, defaming the judge and the legal system, that would not really reflect well during this type of interview. But ultimately, all of this will be put into a probation report that's given to the judge. And the most important part is the last page. That's where the probation officer says whether they think that Trump should get jail or a probation sentence, and if it's probation, what the level of supervision should be. So ultimately, this will be a sentencing recommendation that the judge takes into account along with statements from the defense attorney and prosecution, and ultimately the final sentence will be at Judge Juan Merchan's discretion, though.
Katrina, does that mean that we the public, we're not going to see that last page?
Correct. These are private filings, so they are never revealed, even with a normal defendant. This is a report that stays private. It's never made public. So the only way we'd find out anything about what happens in this interview is if Trump decides to tell us about it.
Trump held a campaign rally yesterday in Las Vegas after fundraising across California last week, and he made a few comments, including vowing to end taxation on tipped income. What stood out to you?
So, yes, this was part of a big swing from Trump on the heels of his trial and conviction to appeal to voters on the West Coast. And in particular, at this rally in Las Vegas, he's really trying to get at a key voting bloc there, which is the Latino voters. Nevada is an important swing state for him. And so this claim that he will remove the taxes on tips really appeals to the hospitality industry there, which many of Latino voters are part of.
Katrina Kaufman, thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.